Hey YouTube, how's it going? This is Adam with Retro Repairs, and in this video I'm going to show you how to basically refurbish this Famicom. So in my previous mail day video I picked up this Famicom straight from Japan with a whole bunch of games, and I mean it functionally works, but the games are kind of dirty. The Famicom needs a cleaning. I'm going to go over opening it, cleaning it, and putting it together. So this is the system itself. You might notice it's missing its front plug. There's a little red plug that goes in there just to keep dust and stuff out, but that's not a big deal. But the big draw of this one is it's actually white. It's not uncommon at all that these will start getting a nasty shade of yellow, and that hasn't happened yet. So that's why I jumped all over this one. I think I can get this shined up and looking great. So we'll get started on that pretty quickly, and we're going to try and open up some of these games, just clean them out, just like any other cartridge-based game, whether it be Nintendo, Sega, whatever. They get dirty and they stop reading properly right away. So it's going to require opening, cleaning, and basically a quick clean and refurbish so this is working as new again. So opening these up is pretty straightforward. All you need is a Phillips screwdriver, or the one with the cross tip on the head. So there's 6 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we're just going to simply remove those and set them aside. Okay, so with all screws removed, what we're going to do is flip this over. Sorry, I got something stuck to them. Flip it over, and the top casing should just lift right up. May need some convincing, or maybe it's the bottom shell. Oh, I have 1 screw remaining. Forgot to take that out. So with all 6 screws removed, the bottom shell should just lift right off just like that, revealing the circuit board and everything else underneath. So from here we have a few screws to remove. We have 2 at the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6. In a previous video when I opened this, I noted that it appeared that there were 2 screws missing here. And again, that's the case. So my guess is they just never installed them out of the factory. I'm not too sure why, but I guess that solves that question as to whether or not something was supposed to be there. So let's get these unscrewed and I'll be back once complete. Alright, so with all 6 screws removed, the board should just lift right up now. And you will note that the controllers are still attached at the bottom, so you will need to unplug them, and they just pull directly out just like this. So you want to be careful. You see this switch here, this is the power switch, and you want to be careful not to rip the wires out of the board, as they're just soldered in place, so it wouldn't be difficult if you gave it a good tug to break those loose. They can be soldered back, but if I can avoid doing that, I absolutely want to. Next, what you'll have to do is unscrew this power switch, which is just attached to the front casing, or the top casing. And again, all these screws are the same, so you don't have to worry about mixing up the screws at all. They all can go back into any of these spots. So there we have the power switches out. So this is the board, and as you can see here, this is the 1989 revision. It's in overall real good condition. There's a few small little dust spots here, or rust spots, sorry, that I'm just going to try and scrub a bit, but otherwise the board is clean. The pins are okay. We're going to give those a bit of a tune-up as well. Otherwise, this board really doesn't need any work. A couple of things I like to look for is these solder joints here with the RF and the power. If there are any cold or cracked solder joints, and they all look good. So I'm not even going to worry about this board. We're just going to clean the cartridge slot and call it a day. What we will do is move on to the actual casing of the board. So the controller wires, they just pull out from the back here. You can lift them right up like that to free them from the casing. And then we have, the entire top unit. Don't do what I did and throw the power and reset buttons everywhere. You'll just have to go chase them a little bit later. So what we'll need to do is get the components off the board. So the first one is this little eject slide, and there's a spring here. All you need to do is pull the spring up and the whole thing comes right out. On the top there is the cartridge cover, and you want to be careful taking this off just so that you don't break the nubs. So they're fairly small, so luckily they're not too hard to take out, but it simply goes in the side here, and you have to bend it to put it in and bend it to take it out. So we'll set that aside, and the last piece is this eject slide. Now you want to be careful with this one, as I am told these are prone to breaking. All you do is you pinch the sides together like this, and you can help guide the tab with your finger out of this slide, and it just lifts up just like that. So now we have the whole case disassembled. We're going to get our parts, we're going to take it up to the sink and just give it a thorough wash. So I'm going to soak it in hot water with dish soap, let it soak for a while, scrub it up and get it clean. Now, the controllers are actually in very good condition. There's no real wear on the printing. The slide seems to work. When I tested it initially, the buttons seem to work fine. They're not dirty, so I'm not even going to worry about these. I'm not going to open them up and clean them unless they give me problems down the road. So we'll get this cleaned up and I'll be back once it's done. So while the shell is getting cleaned, one thing that I want to do is get working on this cartridge slot. So in order to clean it, you can go about it two ways. You can get a toothbrush and dip it in alcohol and get in there and try and wipe out all the dust and everything, which I will do, but a little bit more of a thorough way of doing it is grabbing a card of some type. So this is just an old used gift card, and you take your isopropyl alcohol. So use the 99% stuff if possible. You can also get 91% if you can't find 99. You can pick it up at any drugstore. They do sell 70%, which isn't as good. It has more water content, so it will leave more residue, won't dry as quick, that type of thing. So what I like to do is soak this cloth in the alcohol, then grab my card on the skinnier end, just flip the cloth over it like that, and then all we'll do is shove it into the cartridge slot, pull it out. Shove it in, pull it out. And the idea being here is that it will help to remove any oxidization that may have built up, or just general dust, dirt, and grime. Just pushing it in, pushing it out. It's coming out pretty clean. You can kind of see some marks, but it's overall not bad, which is a good sign. That means there's not a lot of buildup in the actual system itself. But it's always a good idea to do this while you have it out. It's just easier this way. You can really get into it without having to fight with a cartridge slot or door or anything like that. There we go. So I think that's probably good. Just going to use that to wipe off the top of this RF shielding as well, just to give it a bit of a shine. There we go. So that is good to go. There's really nothing else here that needs work. The switch was working fine, the reset button works fine, the video signal was coming through well. I don't have to worry about any of these switches. The only thing I might do is kind of give this RF connector a little bit of a buff. And to do that, what I use is very high grit sandpaper, so 2500. This is used for automotive purposes like paint. And then just simply fold it in half, wrap it around this. So let's see if I can get a good view of it. You see how it's kind of black and tarnished. It hasn't caused any problems, but it'll just make it look a bit better. So you wrap it around like that and just keep twisting until some of that starts coming off. So it may take a while. I'm going to go at it for a little bit and I'll show you the result. And so that's what we have now. It's a lot shinier. The oxidization's been removed a fair bit. Just looks better and makes sure that it will give you a solid connection for years to come. So this board is done. all we have to do is wait for the rest of the shell to be washed, scrubbed, and dried, and then we'll begin reassembly. So one last thing I want to do while this is the shell is drying is just get working on these pins here. If you watch my previous video where I show you how to open up NES cartridges, you'll see that you need a specialized screwdriver called a game bit, which is basically round with little notches in the sides, and it grabs onto those security screws. Well, the Famicom's a little bit different in that it doesn't have screws. The shell parts just snap together. So, I mean, in theory, you could probably pry them apart with a slotted screwdriver. I don't know that I really want to get into doing that, just because then I start potentially dinging up the shell of the case or breaking it overall. I'm just trying to see how this is going to go. There we go. So they come apart just like that. Let's do the same thing on the other side. There we go. So the shell is apart, I think. Something at the top still holding it in place. Anyways, so the board comes out. Let's see if we can get in the top here still. I just don't want to break this. I want it to be able to go back together and still look good. There we go. Oh, so that's what the cartridge shell looks like. So we have the game board, which, although similar to an NES, is smaller in that it's only, I think, 64 pins as opposed to 72. And then we have the two sides of the shell. So as I mentioned before, there are no screw holes at all. They simply clip together on the bottom two corners and then two on the top. So the two parts of the shell just snap right together like that. But while I have this open, I'm going to clean it a bit. So what I use for this is 99% of the time it's just a Q-tip and alcohol. Unless they're really bad contacts, that's all you need. So you dip your Q-tip in alcohol and just start scrubbing these. Give it a good there we go. Good scrub. Get all the dust and tarnish and stuff off. Buff it out with the dry end. And you'll notice the Q-tips turned a nice shade of gray. That's just oxidization that's been lifted off this board. So those look pretty good. They've been worn, but they're not bad. The other side is not in bad condition, but again, we're going to give it a good scrub here just to make sure that this cartridge will work well. It's very rare that cartridges actually go defective. Occasionally you get wear throughout some of these traces, or solder joints could break, but it's not very common. 90% of the time, probably more, all you need to do is clean these pins. So now that this is cleaned up, it's time to put this back together. And you might note that when you try and put it in, the board only goes in one way. You cannot force it to go the wrong way, it just won't work. So put the board in until it lays flat, and then all you do, I believe, is just snap the cartridge together. There we go. I don't like how that's going. It's not put together at the top. So let's open that back up and do that again. So let's try that one more time. This time what I'm going to do is do the top first. So I'm going to kind of open it so it looks like a book, fold it shut. There we go. So now the top's nice and put together. And then squeeze the bottom corners together. It sounds horrible, it sounds like you're breaking it, but it appears to be doing the trick. So I'm not going to open all of these. I have a whole bunch of games that need cleaning, and for the rest of these, all I'm going to do is just use alcohol and just scrub on the pins on the bottom here. Give it a good scrub on the front, and a good scrub on the back, buff it out with the dry end, and we'll test them. If I have problem carts, like see how dirty that is? Absolutely filthy. So you keep doing it until the Q-tip comes out clean. So let's try that again. That's a lot better. Still a little bit dirty, but not too bad. I'm going to do it one more time on the flip side. Again, a little bit of dirt kind of just along the edge. So there it is there. So otherwise, I mean, that's not in bad shape. Now time to do the back. So this one's just starting to open on its own. Again, see how dirty that came out. So this one's opening on its own. I'm guessing the it must have been loose, or I'm just pushing it the right way. No, it's just a loose cartridge. But also on the top, this one has a top label. So if I'm going to open this up, it involves tearing that label. So I don't really want to do that. I want to keep that label in good shape. So this one will remain closed. So let's try that again. And again, pretty dirty coming out of that. So grab another Q-tip and keep going until that's clean. Basically, you want to keep doing it until no more dirt comes out onto your Q-tip. A little bit dirty, but much better. And so yeah, I'm not going to show you me doing all of these games. You can use your imagination for that if you really want to know what that looks like. But yeah, so that's a lot better. So now we have a fairly clean copy of whatever this is. I'm not too familiar with my Famicom games themselves, but it's something. So I'm going to go check on that Famicom casing, and it's probably ready to be dried right now. Alright, so we've got the casing all cleaned up, and it's ready to be put back together. So this is what it looks like with all the dirt and grime removed. So like I said, this one's in really good shape. I'm very happy with how this turned out. We didn't need to go through the process of trying to whiten the plastic, as you can see, it's already pretty white. So let's get this going back together. So the first thing that we want to do is the eject slide. And that's this part here. You notice that there's a side with a larger angle to it and a flat end at the bottom. This part goes towards the front. So all you do, you put one of the tabs in the rail here. You push in and pop this next one in as well. And it should just pop right in just like that. Now, flip it over, and we have the eject button, or not the eject, sorry, the reset button, which doesn't really matter which way it goes in. You just put it in there. And the power switch. Now, the power switch has this little red bit on it, and the red is supposed to go on the bottom. So it slides up, turn on, showing the red shows that it's on, and you slide it down to turn it off. Next, we're going to put in the eject arm. And the way this works is this little metal part right here goes into the eject slide that we have. So you just want to line it up just like so. And when you slide it, it should slide nice and flat there. And the spring just goes onto this arm right here. This guy right there. So it's kind of awkward to get it in, but there we go. So now that's in place. So now when you slide it up, it immediately pulls it back. Next is going to be to install the power switch. So we'll grab the main board here. The board is going to go in like this. So you flip it back like this way, just so that you have clean access to the power switch. And the switch will screw into place just like so. You're not going to be able to put it in backwards, it just physically won't fit. So let's get some screws, we'll tack it into place here. And again, when you're screwing these in, if you're feeling any significant resistance, just stop, back the screw out, and try it again. They should go in rather easily, and if you're having a hard time getting a screw in, you may be stripping the plastic that it's supposed to go into. Like, I can finger tighten these a lot of the way until I run out of screw to grab. So just stop, back it out, and try it again. There we go. So that's in place. Now what we're going to want to do is grab the controllers. So the controllers are a little bit different. The controller 1 is, well, they have numbers on them, so 1 and 2. The biggest difference though is controller 2 has a microphone built into it and a speaker. So if you plug them into the wrong one, it's not going to work properly. So we'll start with controller 1. Controller 1 is going to be on the right side of the board when you're looking at it. So what we're going to do, they have these little grommets that are attached to the cord. So we're going to simply bring this back. Let's get a better view for you. So the little grommet, all it does is you slide it directly in, and you see how it opens? The opening side is going to be on the top view from what you're looking, which will be the bottom of the console. And this hook will actually loop around this post right here. So we simply push it into place. I like to put the loop in first, and then I fit the grommet into place at the top here. That way, it doesn't really matter which way you put the grommet in, but if you put the seam at the bottom, you don't see it when you look at it. So there we go. The controller's into place right now. The cord just sits into this little track right here so that it doesn't get pulled away if you pull at the controller or anything. And then we're going to do the same thing for controller number 2. So number 2, again, you put the loop around the post right here. There we go. And the grommet goes into place with the seam facing up the way that you're working on it. And it just fits right on like that. And then the cord sits right into that rail again. So this is what you're going to have at this point here. So we need to now, at this point, plug the controller ports into the board. And you just push the connectors together. They only go in one way, but for reference, the way that you're looking at it, the brown wire should be on the left and the white wire should be on the right. And we'll do the same thing over here. So brown on the left, and the blue wire, as this is controller port number 2, I'm assuming that controls the microphone, is going to be on the right. So now all we do, we flip it over, put it into place, line up the cartridge reader over the cartridge slot, make sure that these wires aren't being pinched anywhere, fit everything around so that it sits nice and flush, they're not interrupting these posts, and then we start screwing in the board. So again, 6 screws go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5, 6, sorry. I'm going to put those in and I'll be back once they're... Okay, so those screws are in place. The board's secured now. Now we're ready to put the bottom cover on. So before we do that, just give everything a look over. Make sure that these wires are sitting nicely in their tracks. Make sure that the wires at the bottom are not interrupting anything. They're not covering any of these posts. And then the bottom cover should just fit nice and easily right in place like that. So 6 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then that's together. So I'm going to put those in and I'll show you the final result. And now that the back cover's on, this is the final result that we have. So as you can see, it's in very good condition. I put the cartridge cover slot just in place here, and like I mentioned before, it's simply just you bend it a little bit, flex it a tiny bit, put one end in, the other end in, and that's how it goes. So yeah, it's time to give it a test. We'll make sure that it works properly, but otherwise, we have a fully functional Famicom. So, games in. We're going to go with just the original Super Mario Brothers right now. And the thing with this is, in North America, you have to tune this TV to channel 95. The back of the console gives you the option of channel 1 and 2, but for us that means channel 95 or 96. Just a difference in the way that the TVs are tuned. I'm not sure exactly the science behind it, but anyways, so turn it on, and Super Mario Brothers. Grab a controller, sitting of course very close to the console since the cable's only 2.5 to 3 feet long. And let's give it a test here. And looks like we're good. So we have Super Mario Brothers. Excellent. Well, thank you a lot for watching the video. I hope that it was helpful. I hope anyone trying to restore a Famicom they may have bought online is able to take something from this. If you haven't already, be sure to like the video, comment below if you've got anything you want to share with me. Subscribe to my channel, be the first to find out when I post new stuff as well. If you have any requests, anything you'd like me to show you how to do, any consoles you'd like to see me take apart, go ahead, comment, leave me a message, and I'll see what I can do as far as getting that. But thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next video.